Will new generation aircraft like the F-22, Su-57, and J-20 ruin War Thunder? At least ruin it for air players. Now, if you guys are not too familiar, Gaijin seems to always want to add new top tier stuff for the United States, and pretty much Russia, but more so for the United States. We've seen in the last, every update pretty much has gotten a new top tier fighter, whether it be the Super Hornet, the Pobit, or the F-15 CGE. Once we receive something like the F-22, I feel like that's going to be more more scarce. And it's very likely that Gaijin is going to have to switch to adding more Cold War vehicles, more World War II vehicles, and so on and so on. I don't necessarily think now that Gaijin will kill off War Thunder once they add 5th gen and maybe even 6th gen, because they now have another option of things to add, being infantry. So it wasn't really just adding tanks and aircraft like it has been for the last, several years. They actually can add new interesting things. Now, as far as players go, obviously I think some players will quit War Thunder once we get the F-22 and F-35, or at least get the late variants. Because they're not going to want to just play and get Cold War vehicles and late World War II vehicles and other, if you're an air-only player, you might not be interested at all in infantry or anything like that. Which is sad, but it also just is what it is. No one is going to be able to just, not be able to get a new top tier every single day. It might be frustrating for some players. But it just, it is what it is. And end of the day, what, I think is truly best for the game is adding these additions. But also, making sure it isn't, going to kill the game entirely. And making sure we still see other things added alongside of it, because I know that's a big frustrating thing for a lot of players, is when Gaijin just adds, a top-tier aircraft for America. And people have to now also keep in mind, the issue Gaijin is going to have is the United States has access to the F-35A, the F-35B, the F-35C, and the F-22. And the F-22 is most definitely going to be added into, two stages, an F-22 early and an F-22 late. And we're also going to most definitely see something like the YF-23. I have just listed off 6 possible 5th generation fighters for the United States. Russia has options for what? 1, the Su-57. Yes, Gaijin could pull out of their butts a Su-75, but last time I checked, there's not been a single prototype of that aircraft ever made. And I mean an actual flying one. China is in a bit of a better boat. They have the J-20, they have, I think the J-35 is what it's called. They have, the H-35, or some sort of bomber fighter. And yes, the B-21 can also carry AIM-120s, and it has an onboard radar. So that is an option if they want to add that. And obviously, B-2 is just a bomber. It doesn't have any air-to-air capabilities. But Russia is going to be in an interesting boat because they're in main nation that has access to 1 5th gen. And other countries are kind of in the same boat because they're going to only have access to the F-35. So once we reach into 5th generation, the United States is going to have the biggest pool of things to pull from. So, I mean, I guess it is fair to say that for at least several updates, Gaijin can just keep adding F-35s or keep adding F-22s and eventually, have to fill in the gaps. I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are. Do you guys think 5th generation aircraft are going to kill off, is going to kind of ruin War Thunder? Is new generation fighters going to be what kills the game? Realistically speaking, I know a lot of players said yes back in 2024. Well, this was, when these talks were big, it was before we had the F-18. We barely had touched into the F-15s at all. We didn't have infantry. We didn't have, more modern things like that. Now we do, so now I think it's more realistic Gaijin's going to fill in the other game modes and be able to still, hold off on adding all of the 5th gens in one fell swoop. Which would not be great for the game if, you add all the remaining things. Because really, sitting here now, what are we waiting for in War Thunder? There is a handful of aircraft that are still waited upon at top tier. There's several Cold War vehicles still. There's hundreds of Cold War vehicles that can still get added. But in top tier, every update those numbers just kind of drop. Gaijin always adds top tier aircraft. They need to probably hold off on that for a bit and add more mid tier, more Cold War, more World War II, more, other era fighters. Anyways, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. If you guys are not already subscribed, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Join the Discord link down below in the description. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.